How's everybody doing? I'm Ron. Welcome to today's meditation practice. Is anybody here for the first time? Okay, welcome back, everybody. We have a few announcements before we start. If you haven't already silenced your cell phones, please do so at this time. And put your phones away so you can be fully present for the talk and meditation. If you must use your phone, please do so outside the meditation hall. We invite you to join us for our weekly Tuesday events with Medicine Buddha practice at 6 p.m. and our public talk at 7 p.m. This week, for our Tuesday evening talk, Geshe Phende La will continue speaking on the 37 practices of a bodhisattva. Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m., the Drepung Loseling monks conduct evening prayers for His Holiness, the Dalai Lama's long life, and the long life of other teachers. On Thursday at 4:30 p.m., the Loseling monks conduct the Protector Puja for smooth journeys, successive interviews and medical treatments, new businesses, etc. Our popular 5-class foundation series continues April 11th with the 4 immeasurables: loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity. This one-day retreat via Zoom focuses on the 4 immeasurables, which is cultivated to extend towards sentient beings with a mind free of bias. This series is a prerequisite for the intermediate series and other retreats. We are thrilled to announce the upcoming book release of Engaged Compassion by our founder and spiritual director, Geshe Lobsang Tenzin Negi, PhD, releasing May 12th, 2026. On Sunday, May 17th, Geshe La will lead our 11 a.m. meditation and host a book signing afterwards. Pre-orders are available now through all major booksellers. Pre-ordering is a wonderful way to support the launch of this meaningful work. Information is in the lobby. As a reminder, please do not park on the grass along the driveway or behind the building, or the grass behind the building. If the lot is full, overflow parking can be found via Skyland Drive at the John Lewis Elementary School outside of school operating hours. Only access the school parking via Skyland Drive and walk through to our site. Information on all events can be found in the lobby and on our website at drepung.org. If anyone is interested in volunteer opportunities to get more involved in supporting our center and programs, please see me or our volunteer coordinator, Michael Duffel. Is this guy right here? If you are interested, or anyone with a name tag, if you are interested in becoming a member to support our ongoing programs and take advantage of benefits like discounts on courses and retreats, applications are available in the library. You can also register online. There is a donation box near the entrance of this room. Your generous support helps us continue to offer programs and services like this to our Atlanta community and to those around the world through our online platform. Now please stand as we invite our guest teacher, Tim Harrison, Associate Director of Emory University's Compassion Center. Okay, they changed it? Okay. Geshe Phende. I was wondering what happened there, right? To come in for today's practice. It's like Tim Harrison.
Okay, now first we're going to recite the mantra of Heart Sutra. And as usual, during this reciting the mantra, it's very important to meditate on emptiness. Tahayata gate gate paragate parasangate bodhisoha tayata 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 gate gate paragate parasangate bodhisoha. May all beings have happiness. May they be free from suffering. May they find the joy that has never known suffering. May they be free from attachments and hatred. May all beings have happiness. May they be free from suffering. May they find the joy that has never known suffering. May they be free from attachments and hatred. May all beings have happiness. May they be free from suffering. May they find the joy that has never known suffering. May they be free from attachments and hatred. Oi sai chi pi ji joy shi ai me ai to tama ri ra ba li shi ni ai de ge ba ti Sangye Shinto Mi Te bi wa yi to ye ke ye nama da shi la che ye pa sho idam guru ratna mendala kam niryata ya amen. So now the text which we're going to learn is the 37 Practices of Bodhisattva by Geshe Togme Zangpo. And today we are in stanza, means the practice, the seventh one. So mentioned last time, these texts where they introduce the practice called the stages of the path to enlightenment. First is preliminary practice, then actual, then conclusion. So so today is the last one. Now last among the 7 preliminary practice, today is the seventh one, which is called going for refuge to the 3 precious jewels. So last stanza 6, we talk about rely on spiritual friends or the spiritual master, how important it is, and also not just simple just teacher, the teacher's qualification, and what you call the connections to the teacher, called devotion. What's that really meaning of devotion? What is the purpose of that? And what is the benefit of having devotion to qualified teachers? What is the advantages? So that's all we finished. It is for the beginner, it is really, really important where you're learning from this important dharma and the doctrines. That teacher where you learn, make sure he or she really fully qualified. If the full qualification teacher you found it as a student, huge benefit. It's huge benefit. So that is why it's not hurry to find a teacher, spiritual teacher. And it also, the qualification is internal things. It's not outside some kind of titles or names or external things. It's mainly inner qualities. So these are very important. After you found a qualified teacher, so now when you enter the Buddhism, Buddha Dharma, right? So how can you decide it? Now I'm Buddhist practitioners, right? Now I'm Buddhist or I'm not. So what is the gateway to enter the practice? It's called going for refuge to 3 precious jewels. So taking refuge to the 3 precious jewels is the entering the door, right, to enter the Buddha Dharma. So that is why the 7th preliminary practice is the taking refuge. So sometimes people have kind of the not understanding properly taking refuge, which means they go to the master and we have refuge ceremony. So people think we just go there and do this refuge ceremony, and that's they think taking refuge. That's the not main thing. Refuge, taking refuge to the three precious jewels is something coming from your mind, something you know, something you wanted, and you know where you're going to get it. So all of this knowledge, when you got it, then you have some kind of desire internally. I need to rely on these refuge objects. I need to rely on them in order to achieve my own goal. So that kind of realization, that kind of knowledge, when you got it, then it's called you take refuge to the three precious jewels. Then upon there, ceremony or rituals is a good. At least you receive some type of the blessing, and which called the lineage masters, unbroken lineage masters, the blessing. So this is part of the blessing part. But the real refuge is within your mind. You need to take it. So that is why it is very, very important, this refuge practice, what that really means. Sometimes just bowing to the Buddha, just go to the Buddhist temple, or just recite some prayers, Buddhist prayers, or offering to the Buddha doesn't mean you become Buddhist or you become practitioners. Buddhists or becoming Buddhist practitioner means the person who has taken refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. So that's why it is kind of the very, very important. Second thing is, it's tremendous helps you. When you take sincerely refuge, it's really change your practice. You know what is your goal. You know how to go these things. So that's why this refuge is not just simple ceremony. It's a really, really important kind of the subject. We need to learn that. So here the stanza says, first in Tibetan, Rayang Korbe Zunja Chingbayi, Zunra Chingbayi, Jiten Lai Sushi Kyobarni, Teacher Kangla Jamna Miluwe, Kuncho Jamdo Jese Lakli, bound himself in the jail of secular existence. What worldly God can give you protections? Therefore, when you seek refuge, take refuge in the three jewels which will not betray you. This is the practice of bodhisattvas. So what does that mean? Means in many Buddhist culture, specific in Tibet, because this master is the Tibetan masters, right? He wrote this. So in our Himalayan regions, we have many different cultures. One of their culture is they like to do offering to the local spirits. When the religion comes, that means you're worshiping to the spirits. And they believe variety types of the spirits. Tibetan also, because of our native religion, it's called the Burn religion. It's very, very ancient. So this religion has lots of kind of the rituals, believing on those spirits, water spirits, earth spirits, land spirits, or wind spirits. All the elements have their own spirits. So every corner, have certain type of the spirits. So they believe these things. So not only in Tibet, also a number of the Himalayan regions also believe this kind of ancient type of the culture. So they're very much serious on worshipping to those spirits. Some Tibet, I think we don't have this, I'm not sure. But some Himalayan region, even they do the animal sacrifice on those spirits for sake of some kind of achievement, or as a farmers, or now this time they don't have enough rain, so now our farms, is drying, is something problems, so they cut the animals and offer to those spirits, to asking them, they bring the rains. So I'm not sure if they're really bringing or not, but that kind of tradition they have, and they're still doing these things. And maybe they're bringing or something, because it's been like a generation to generation. They're doing this. And not only these things, many things, where their family has some issues, they go to the certain divination, the people who do the divinations, and they tell them, oh, do this or do that. So they animal sacrifice, or they're worshipping those spirit offering, all kinds of things they do. So these are what you call, as after when Buddhism came to the Tibet, so the native culture, there's these spirit worshipping things already there, and then Buddhism comes upon there. So now some villagers mix these two things. So, and they go more into this spirit worshipping. They believe so much on these things. Certain type of those spirits come to the human body and they talk and all kinds of things they really believe in strongly, some of them. So that's why here what the master is saying, bound himself in the jail of secular existence, which means these local spirits, it's here they use, they call worldly God, which are the spirits. They themselves bound himself in the jail of secular existence. They are circle in samsara. They are not liberated. They are same like us, suffering, living with too much attachment, too much negative emotion. They themselves are suffering and circling in samsara. What worldly God can give you protection? What these worldly spirits, right, can give you protection? They themselves still circling in samsara, right? How can they protect us? No, not at all. They cannot able to protect us. So therefore, number of them people, they have taken full refuge to these spirits. Many Buddhist traditions, they all have, when the ancestor worshipping, they're doing the worshipping to the ancestors, and they believe all kind of these things. Sometimes they believing those ancestors are the more important than Buddha Dhamma Sangha. They make beautiful altar to them. They always, every morning, offering to them. Their own altar, the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, nothing, just few waters and maybe one incense. But their ancestor, they give all their food, what they eat, they're offering to them. So their mind is more towards those ancestors they have. So reality is, those ancestors, these worldly spirits, they themselves are still circling in samsara, suffering. So how can they protect you? If those do not have power to protect you, then rely on them is what? Is the stupid, right? They cannot do anything, then why you rely on them? That's how he's saying. So what worldly can give you protection? Therefore, He said, when you seek refuge, when you're really taking refuge, rely on something, you should take refuge in 3 jewels. You can take refuge to the 3 precious jewels, which will not betray you. So they will never betray you, because they are qualified to save us and to protect us, right? This is the practice of Bodhisattvas. So these are the Bodhisattvas practice. So they, as a Buddhist, we need to rely on Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, right? Not this all kind of worshipping to the spirits and all kind of things. But you can offer those spirits, no problem. Offering to the spirits is no problem. We can offer to the beggars, we can offering to the animals, giving, offering is no problem. But take refuge towards them is the mistake, it's the wrong, because they cannot protect us. So that is why we need to distinguish between 3 precious jewels and these your ancestors or your local spirits. Ancestors, your local spirits and worldly gods, they are same like you. They are still circled in samsara. They are still, what you call tied, bind by the destructive emotion in samsara. So they cannot. So only who can able to save you? 3 precious jewels, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. Right? That's first we need to understand. Now, in order to take refuge from them, right? When you rely on them, you need to know something first, right? Why you rely on them? Why are you seeking refuge to them, right? When people have struggle, when they have a problem, you are seeking somebody can protect me, somebody can help me, right? We're going that. When you get sick, we are seeking somebody can help me. Go to the clinic or hospital, looking doctors and nurses, right, can help me to overcome my illness. So take refuge means first, why are you taking refuge? What problem you have, right? The problem you have, which is not if your problem are able to, what you call, save you by somebody else, then you go to those people, then you ask them. As if our problem is only illness, disease, then we don't need to go to the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. We go to the doctors, right? Ask them. So if you have a problem with your education, not understanding properly, we have to rely on seek refuge to the teachers, right? To teach me. So that's why in order to take the refuge first, what problem you have. So in order to understand that, first what we need to know is called Four Noble Truths. That's why Buddha taught the first, his teachings called Four Noble Truths, which means truth of suffering, truth of origin of suffering. First is 2 truths, right? So we need to understanding the suffering which we do not want it, right? As the human beings, everybody has innate natural desire, wish to free from suffering, right? We don't need to learn these things. Wish to free from suffering, we have since by birth, right? The newborn baby, as soon as when she suffers, she cries. So showing her body language, she don't like suffering. Every movement of her body is for sake of peace, comfortable, happy. When she is very peaceful, happy, then she quiet and sleep, right? That's we have. So that's called innate natural desire, wish to free from suffering. So now, when we talk about the suffering, how much you know the suffering, right? So if your understanding of suffering is only very gross level, then you're only looking at the solution. It's only the gross level of solution. You surface suffering, you fix it, it will come back again. Because you only find only to deal with the surface problems, right? Then it will come back again. And again, it's never ended. So that is why we need to understand the first, all these different layers of the suffering which we have, and we do not know these things, right? That's why the first Buddha taught when he teach us the suffering. So he teach us the suffering, which means we are the people who are experiencing this suffering, but the number of the suffering, we still do not know these other suffering. We misunderstanding. So that's why we make mistake number of times. Sometime certain type of the suffering, we do not know these other suffering. So that's why these kind of suffering and never change. It's always remain the same things, same problems. So that is why first we need to understanding the suffering. Therefore, suffering, he taught us. There are, according to the text, there are many 100 different types of the suffering, 8 different types, 6 different, there are many things there, right? The first we go is the one simple way. He talk about 3 different types of the suffering. Suffering of change, and suffering of pervasive conditioning. So these 3, suffering, everybody knows. We have physical issue, health issue, all this. We have a mental stress, depression, anxiety, all kind of suffering. Normally, worldly people talking about the suffering. This is called suffering. Even animals know these things, right? You don't need to be very smart. But next, suffering of change is a little difficult to understand. You have to think a little bit deeper. Suffering of change, which means in the world, worldly concern as a happiness, right? We call worldly happiness. So worldly happiness is actually suffering of change. Why is it called suffering of change? Because the pleasure, worldly pleasure, the pleasure of having food, the pleasure of having nice dress, the pleasure of having position, having power, having money, having boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, children, like in a house, all kind of things today. That's the we think is the happiness, right? So in the world, majority people, we are seeking these kind of things, happiness, that's how we think. But according to the Buddhist, actually, these are suffering of change. Suffering of change, which means this pleasure, when you got it, if this is a real, true happiness, that means as long as when you have to be really happy. When you use it, when you live with this, you have to be more happier, because this is the happiness. But it is not. When you first got it, looks like pleasure. Then when you live with this, slowly it will turn into sufferings. Some of them, it brings extra suffering. Before you do not have. Because of that, now you have another issues, another struggle, another problems. So that's showing this happiness is not true happiness. It's turned into suffering, called suffering of change. So if you do not know these things, because of majority of people not understanding on these other part of suffering, they put their all effort for achieving this worldly happiness. That's how they do, right? Majority. But when they got it, if they really feel full, satisfied, happy, but it is not, right? Maybe having one of the very important people are looking is fame, reputation, right? So becoming high, what you call superstar, you have another issues. Because of being a superstar, you have a sufferings, right? There are many people. As when you live with the ordinary, you don't have number of those problems. Now becoming famous, now you have extra other issues. To go to the public, you have a struggle, you have to have security, you have to pay for them. All you want to place you wants to go, but you cannot go there, right? There's many issues there. Little things going wrong, it can next day it comes to all over your newspaper and everywhere. So it kind of constantly bothers. So that's why becoming what you call superstar doesn't mean celebrity, doesn't mean you are the happiest person, right? Number of them ended up depression. Number of them ended up with a stress. That's why they need to take drugs, alcohol, all kinds of chemicals. Finally, they lost their life, right? We have a number of those people in example in the past. Why they ended their life? Why they overdose? Why they kill themselves? If they're really happy, why they have to do these things? Even little insects don't want to die, right? Who will wants to die? Sometimes inside too much pain, right? Cannot bear that sort of inner pain. These comes from where? Because of your reputation, your fame, your power, your money. You ended up with a difficult number of people have these issues. Similarly, I'm always reminding you, when you do not have your boyfriend and girlfriend or husband and wife, you suffer, you look it, you found it. First, you may be very exciting. Eventually it change, right? Because of your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband, your wife, your children, you suffer. Not having job, you suffer. Because of job, now you will be suffer. So it's everything. Not having them problem. After you got it, because of having them, you have problems now. That's showing these are suffering of change. So suffering of change, which means it appears like a pleasure, but it is not pleasure, right? When look it into the young age, teenager, parents have lots of experience. Teenager, young, they do not have that much. They do many fun things, but these are not real fun. After there were big issues, the problem, they ended up. So parents already know it looks like fun, but it is not. It ended up with a difficult. So they try to stop, but these younger do not want because they don't know this. These are suffering of change. It will flip it up other side. And big problem, they don't see these things. So not knowing many of these suffering, they make a mistake. Ended up, they themselves suffer, right? So the young, you do not want to go to study. You want to go away. But the parents try to encourage them because if you're not good educated, future, you will not going to find good job. You will be suffer. They're seeing these things. But the younger generation, they don't see. Their happiness, oh, just fun, enjoy it, go up and down and drink and drunk and go all these things. Happiness, they don't see. These happiness are not happiness. These are the suffering. It turned into horrible suffer, right? But they don't see, they make mistake. That's how they ended up. Life, whole life is ruined their life. So that's called suffering of change. So to understanding suffering of change as a suffering, you have to have some education, some knowledge, some experience. Otherwise, you will not know, right? Then, suffering of pervasive conditioning, which is more difficult to understand that. Suffering of pervasive conditioning, you have to go furthermore, which is, okay, as a human beings, no doubt we will be experiencing suffering of aging, right? Everybody, we have to go that. Suffering of illness, right? Then finally, suffering of death and dying. These are inevitable sufferings. Then mentally, stress, anxiety, fear, worry, all kind of these emotion, pains, roller coaster. You all have to go that. Question is, why? Why you have to experiencing suffering of aging, suffering of sickness, suffering of death and dying? Why? Right? And it means because of your aggregates, your body, your minds, your emotions, all different aspects of the mental factors you have are contaminated. All of them are contaminated. Contaminated, which means they are not pure, right? They are impure. They are dirty, impure. Even look, this body, it's not pure, right? It is meat, right? It's a meat. Doesn't matter whatever you put it on there, it's just outside you put it. But the reality, it is the meat. It's getting worse and worse, right? That's how it is. So then question is, why we have this contaminated aggregate? Why not we have pure body, pure aggregates? Why we do not have them, right? That's why it comes here. Because all of these things you have, they are causes. These causes are your actions, called the karma. The karma accumulate by your mind, but your mind is not pure. It's polluted by anger, attachment, jealousy, arrogance, selfish, called mental afflictions, destructive emotions. So these are the emotions, these are the negative thoughts, emotions which we have. And these negative thought emotions are the main engine. The vehicle, when they run, the main engine is there, right? That's how they push. So whatever lifestyle, whatever decision, whatever action you put it, the main engine's coming from your mind, and that mind is not pure. That mind is negative, mental afflictions. So showing, living under the influence of mental afflictions, you constantly accumulate contaminated karma. That is why the result, wherever you connect it, the connection, your birth, your body and your mind, these are the only two you have. Both of them becoming contaminated. So having contaminated aggregates, rest of the suffering, you have to experience. There's no any place to escape. That's how. So this kind of body, contaminated body and minds called suffering of pervasive conditioning. Suffering of conditioning. Pervasive, which means this type of suffering, whole samsara runs, right? The people, what you call being who born into the samsara, everybody is the victim of these kind of suffering, contaminated aggregates called suffering of pervasive. It's pervade to all over the samsara. Conditioning means this suffering is caused by conditioning by your karma. Your karma is created by your mental affliction. That's why. So now understanding, now final conclusion is, if you living under the influence of mental afflictions. And out of mental affliction, the karma you accumulated, then the result, you will born into samsara. Means this aggregates, contaminated realms. Living in contaminated aggregates, suffering of pervasive conditioning, suffering of aging, sickness, death, and suffering of stress, depression, all the rest of the suffering we're talking about, will definitely experience. Right? That's why first they taught suffering, Buddha. Second, he taught the origin of suffering. It comes from where? Your mental affliction and your actions, karma. Right? So these two, when you understand, you know all this type of suffering, specific suffering of pervasive conditioning, and then when you talk about the samsara, according to the Buddhist philosophy, samsara, they divide it into 6 realms, right? 6 realms. 3 realms which are called lower realms. 3 realms which called higher realms. Why the 3 lower realms? Why there were 3? Why not only 1, right? Because the causes mainly the karma, right? Karma are the cause. So these karma has 3 different types. One is, first 2, good karma, good action, virtuous karma, and bad karma, non-virtuous action, right? These 2, if you go briefly, simple explanation, bad karma means the action you act to harm to any beings, right? Whatever you act, that action, if they harm to any beings, that's called non-virtuous karma. You're hurting them. You create suffer, either oneself, either others, called non-virtuous, right? Good karma means you help them, make happy, benefiting to them. Virtuous karma. 2. So non-virtuous karma divided 3. 1 very heavy, non-virtuous, 1 medium, and 1 light, right? Light karma. So karma non-virtue as heavy, medium, and light. Same virtue as strong, heavy, and medium, and light. 3. That's why lower realms, 3 lower realms, 3 higher realms. Heavy negative karma, non-virtuous karma, one of the lowest realm, which Buddhists call hell realm, right? And the medium one they call hungry ghosts, ghost realms. And the light, non-virtuous karma called animal realms. That's how the 3 lower realms. 3 higher realms, which means best good karma, is called God realms. Then the medium, which called demigods. Then the light good karma, human realms. That's how the 6 realms, right? These 6 realms divided by your karma. There's nothing somebody create these things. It's nothing to do there. It's your own actions. So now to freedom from the suffering, right? Okay, these are you understanding how the suffering, where they're coming from, all of this. Now question is, if there is a solution to overcome this suffering, right? If there is a way to fix these problems, Buddha say yes, because fundamental causes is your negative emotions. These are the main causes. So you need to get rid of your causes. If your causes are changed, result will be changed, right? That is why he teach first, when you study the Buddhist psychology, it is really important. As a Buddhist practitioner, you really need to study Buddha Dharma, Buddha's teaching. Otherwise, your practice never ever become good. Your practice just on the hanging around the air around there. You just follow a little ritual here, there, and just believing something, little thing, and sometimes little dream, sometimes emotion. It's really not effective that much when you're not understanding properly how system, how it's going that, how we suffer, how we need to get rid of this. All these things, if you don't understand properly, you really don't know how to practice properly. So therefore, first, the causes, the mental afflictions, the main thing. So is this mental affliction, if you change it, your action will be changed, result will be changed, right? That's the called law of causality. So Buddha first teach the Buddhist philosophy, the view, Buddhist view. They are divided into two: mundane right view, super-mundane right view. So mundane right view, what they really teach, they teach the law of causality, the relationship between cause and effect, right? When there comes general cause and effect, among these causes effect relationship, there are certain type of the causes more difficult to understand, which called karma, law of karma. Good action, good result, bad action, bad result. These kind of relationship is not easy to understand. You need to really understand the logic, how it works. You can learn from first external thing. I plant the apple seed, it comes apple tree. That's all. It never comes orange tree or banana tree or poison tree. What kind of seed you put it, that type of result comes. There's nothing else. Doesn't matter how much you try to do anything on that seed, as long as apple seed, it just brings apple trees, right? That kind of relationship is the nature. There's nobody created. This is how it is. So that we learn from this, then we use for the other things. So same, if causes is that, result is that. You study very hard, you become a very good educated person. You not study, you're becoming what you call not study, not educated person, right? That's how it is, the law of causality. So action, what you acted, result is that way. So that kind of relationship is called, learning this kind of view is called mundane right view, right? So through that, what we're learning is, yes, all this suffering coming from my karma and my mental affliction. So through understanding all these different layers of suffering, you are thinking, then finally, oh yeah, even I die, I'm going to born into same samsara, right? No choice. Because I can see I have still attachment, anger, jealousy, all this mental affliction there. So as long as it is there, no doubt I have to born into samsara. There's no any other solution. So born into samsara, this problem, that one, you'll understand all different types of the suffering. You concern that, right? You worry about this suffering. Then that worry, that concern, looking the solution. How should I fix this problem, right? Then you find it, in order to change that, I need to change my mental afflictions. So that's why I'm saying, is these mental afflictions are changeable? You have all these negative thoughts, emotions you have, they are changeable, they are curable. Then according to Buddhist philosophy, Buddha teaching on nature of human mind, nature of all the minds are pure, right? Nature of mind is the pure. Mental afflictions are the temporary. It just polluted. Nature of sky is very clean. The clouds are the temporary. As long as cloud there, that brings you rain and storm and all kind of things, right? But nature of sky is pure. Same, nature of our mind is pure. But this is not just we say and believe it. There is a logic, reason, evidence. You can go very deep philosophy. That's how we say we learn the Buddhist philosophy, which means we're learning this, right? We need to learn. How can you prove nature of our mind is pure, right? Mental afflictions are temporary. Many different reasons. One of the simplest is, if anger is your nature, human nature, when this anger arises, we have to remain very comfortable. But that's our nature, right? But it is not. When this anger, destructive emotion arises, it disturbs our mind. It disturbs our physical health, right? It's showing it's not suit with your body and your mind. That means this is not your nature. This is temporary. It's just disturbing us. That means it is separable, right? So it's showing freedom of your mental affliction. It's called cessations of mental afflictions. That's the third noble truth he teach. These all have reason, the logic. It's not just simple believed. Then finally, how should we get rid of these destructive emotions, right? Truth path, the last, which means through the practice. Then different types of the practice, truth path. These are the one, like for instance, compassion, love, bodhicitta, wisdom of emptiness. Each of these practices, what they're going to do, it change your anger, hatred, your selfish, your mind of self-grasping, all kind of destructive emotion will eliminate, right, by practicing this. That's called the Buddha Dharma. So now, understanding all of these things, okay, now my solution is, I have concern, all this suffering, samsara suffering, general being a human, there's all this struggle we have. And I realizing these suffering causes by my mental afflictions, my actions, right? So you have concern this, you have fear about that. So now you're seeking, how can I overcome this? Who can able to help me to overcome, right? First thing is, from the Buddhist perspective, your mental afflictions, your karma, you are the only the person can change. Nobody will change for you, right? Buddha says, Tupnam Tikpa Chui Metushings, which means enlightened beings, right? Buddhas cannot wash your bad karmas, your karma. They cannot able to wash that. They cannot take our suffering by their hands. They cannot do that. Same time, they cannot transform their own realization, their wisdom, their compassion, their love. They cannot transform to us, to disciples, to us. What they can do, only they can teach you how to overcome, how to get rid of these problems. They will teach us the Dharma. So through that, you learn and yourself need to fix it. There's nothing else, right? For instance, even your parents so smart, right? But their children themselves have to go to school and study. If they're not study, themselves suffer, become, uneducated. Then future lots of problems. Doesn't matter your parents how much smart, how much educated, but your ignorance, you are the only the person can change. Nobody will change for us, right? Exactly same like that. That is why, so as a self-responsibility, okay, I need to clean all my ignorance, all my mental affliction. In order to do that, first what you need the person who can teach me all this information, how to do. As a student, first they need proper teacher, good teacher in order to become good educated, right? As a patient, when you have really painful illness, disease, chronic disease, first very important thing is you have to find excellent doctor, smart, right? That's first very important. Exactly same like that as a samsaric person, too much suffer, So in order to overcome that, first you need excellent teacher who knows all of these things. Not only knowledgeable person, who himself or herself same position where we are, right? Come from that same, who knows through their own experience. Then again thing is, who need to have really, really sincerely love and compassion to their student. Otherwise, they're always looking their benefit, so they will not going to give you the right information, right? Warm-heartedness, good heart, fully educated. Upon there, they need to be, when you learn from them, they have to have special skill how to deliver this message according to my mental disposition, right? To understanding in my level of the person, how can they deliver? They're called skill. So all of these qualities, they need it. That kind of person, first, I need it. So that's why first we're relying on Buddha, right? We take refuge to the Buddha as a refuge teacher. It's not some kind of miracle or blessing. It's not about that. Because sometimes when it comes to the religion, we rely on deities or something, only looking as a blessing. They bless you, next day your problem is solved. That's what we believe in, many people. But actually it's not. As a first, we rely on the Buddha as a teacher to learn all this information, to overcome all this problem, because my concern is all this suffering and all these causes of suffering I have. So I need to get rid of them. So I do not know how to do them. That's why I rely on you. Without that kind of teacher, it's impossible, right? It's completely dark, blind. So I do not know where I have to walk now. It's completely blind. So that's how first they rely on the Buddha as a teacher. Then second, finally, who can save you? Right? Who can clean your mental afflictions, negative karma, right? Actual saver. Buddha is like a doctor. They teach us. That's their responsibility. But finally, who can save? Doctrines called the Dharma, right? Dharma is the one. It's like a medicine, can cure all your problems. So Dharma, which means among the Four Noble Truths, truth of cessation of suffering, and the truth path. These are called Dharma, which means freedom of your anger, right? Cessation of your anger, your attachments, your jealousy, your arrogance, your mental afflictions, right? So these cessations are the one can directly help you. When you cease mental affliction, then you are free, right? Cessation. But that cessation coming through the practice of realization, bodhicitta, wisdom of emptiness, all this practice we're learning right now, right? We're going to learn in the future again. So future in this text, we're going to talk about the number of realization, for instance, compassion, love, and all 6 parameter, all kind of these practice. Now these are the Dharma. The real Dharma, which called the, truth path, which is, if you go specific, then, this Dharma only comes when you reach the seeing path. It's very complicated. We don't need to go too much this. So a simple thing is the realization, your renunciation, compassion, bodhicitta, right? Your wisdom for understanding the truth, wisdom of impermanence, wisdom for understanding the law of causality, the philosophy you learn. This knowledge, this realization are the one will help to cure each of your mental afflictions. Like if you sincerely feel love to entire sentient beings, that love will cure your anger towards others, right? When you sincerely love, your anger is gone. So that kind of realization, and the cessation of these destructive emotions called dharma, that's the doctrine. This is your actual savor, like a medicine. You go to the doctor gives you medicine, you take this medicine, you cure your disease, right? You go to the Buddha to learn the Dharma. You get this Dharma, you take it, means practice it. You practice, you experience that Dharma, your Dharma will cure all your mental affliction, your ignorance, your negative karmas, right? And that will liberate you from samsara. So actual seva is the Dharma. Then in order to take the Dharma, you get the Dharma doesn't mean you take it. Medicine is on the table, or medicine you take it take it by yourself. Just sitting on the table, you have medicine doesn't mean it will cure. You have to take it, then it will cure, right? So to take it is not easy. You need supporter. You are very fragile. You cannot able to take by yourself. So you need Dharma friends, Dharma supporters, who have sincerely care about you, who fully qualify to help you about your Dharma. That's called Arya beings, supreme beings. They are not fully achieved enlightenment, but they reach at least certain level of the practice called seeing path, at least. So who have compassion, love, who understanding the emptiness philosophy, who have understanding the philosophy, supramundane view, mundane right view, supramundane right view, all of this full of knowledge. Not only knowledge, they themselves serious practitioner, called supreme beings, as the reliable Dharma friends. If you're surrounded by, helped by those beings, much easier to help you to take this medicine, practice, because they facilitate it. They inspire you. They are like your inspiration. They are like role model. Inspire yourself. Practice the Dharma. That environment they created. So through that you put it practice, then slowly you liberate it. You cure your disease. Similarly, when you take this medicine, you are very fragile, you cannot go and take it, you need the nurse around there, right? Good nurse. So nurse will come to give you the right time to give your medicine, right? So through the help of doctor, medicine, your nurse, day by day, weeks and months and years, finally you are free from all your disease, cure. Exactly similar like that as patients of samsara suffering, the patients of what you call the mental afflictions, sufferings, right, disease. So in order to cure, you need to rely on the Buddha as a doctor, right? Dharma as a medicine, and the Sangha as like a nurse. Through the help of three Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, you can finally able to liberate from all your problem, the suffering, your concern, right? So when you're understanding on these issues, then now what's that? You believed to the three precious jewels, Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha are the one definitely able to help me to overcome my fear, my concern, right? That believed. So, out of this belief to the three precious jewels, out of your concern, your fear about your suffering, your causes of suffering, right? These are the two causes, your concern and your belief. Out of that, you go to the three precious jewels, full relying on them, take full refuge, seeking them, right? Full refuge to the three precious jewels. That's called taking refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. So when you're able to do that, you already have refuge. You already enter the Buddha Dharma. You already enter now. Enter, which means now you know whatever Dharma you learn is for sake of overcome your suffering and your causes of suffering. You're able to take into that way. That's why it's called you are qualified to learn the Buddha Dharma. You are qualified to practice the Buddha Dharma. Otherwise, you are not qualified. Not qualified, what that means? That means without reverence, you go there, you're learning, but you're not able to apply the Dharma for sake of overcome your mental affliction, your suffering, all kind of things. Because you do not know, you have not concern. So your Dharma is not going to the right way. It goes different way. That's why many traditionally Buddhists, and being a Buddhist for decades and decades, because of not knowing these things, so their Dharma, they are not qualified to practice the Buddha Dharma. So therefore, their Buddhism, their Dharma is not that much benefit to them. They apply the Dharma for what? It's very interesting. When you go to some temples, I saw in some documentary in China or there, temples, there's thousands of people every morning lining up to offer the incense. And when they interview to them, after whatever they do, offering come back, interview what? And then majority people, they don't have job. So they go there for sake of find a job. Some of them, they don't have children. So they go to the Buddha, pray for sake of children. So all, majority, not all, right? Most of them, when you go there, they all, it's not about samsara. It's not about the mental affliction, the karma, nothing else. It's all about mundane pleasure, greed, attachment, all about that. Or to become success, my job, to become rich, to find a good husband, good wife, to get a good baby, all kind of like that. That's how they do. Their practice is because of that reason. So when do these practice? Imagine, you go to the temple, you've been practiced for hours and hours. All of this practice, your goal is to increase more greed, more attachments, right? Because you're looking position, job, power, your reputation, getting more money, all this. So inside there, actually, what you're practicing is for sake of growing more greed, attachments. That means, from the Buddhist perspective, when the mental afflictions are growing more, that means you will going to get more suffering, right? When you learn the Four Noble Truths, that's how we learn. So that's why without taking refuge properly, your practice will not that much benefit. So therefore, taking refuge is the gateway to go to the real practice. You are qualified to practice Buddha Dharma. Means any practice you learn, you know it's all about to change. First is to change your negative actions, karma, killing, stealing, lying, all kind of non-virtuous actions which are the causes of suffering of three lower realms. So we have concern about suffering of three lower realms. Then what I need to do? I need to get rid of these heavy, right, non-virtuous karmas. So therefore, I go to the temple, I learn Buddhism. It's for sake of change those karma, for sake of change those mental affliction. I want to change, I do not know how to change. That's why I go to the temple to learn these things, right? Then I practice means I'm practicing Buddha Dharma means I'm practicing to changing my behaves, right? My negative emotions, all these negative thoughts I have. I'm practicing to change this, to changing from negative to positive. That's called practicing Buddha Dharma, right? So all of this go to the right way is because of taking refuge to the three precious jewels. That's why here the final 7 preliminary practice, the number 7, he put it here, taking refuge to the three precious jewels, right? So therefore, it is very, very important to really to help you to benefit, your practice. Because sometimes we are not that much serious on this practice. So that's why it's not that much benefiting us. Benefiting us, which means it's not that much change our actions, it's not that much changing our negative thoughts. We have not that much concern about our karma, our negative, because of lack of understanding the Four Noble Truths, lack of understanding the mundane right view. Therefore, study these things, right? So then you can see taking refuge to the three precious jewels, how these are important. Then there are many 10 benefits, all kinds of things that we don't need to go detail. We don't have time to explain all of this. I just bring here the main point of the taking refuge. What's the main point? Then when you go the detail, then there's a 10 benefit, there's a refuge commitments, positive, negative commitment, all kinds of other things. That's when you take the refuge serious teaching, then they can get detail. But here just little kind of the focus is like a main point of this refuge practice. So now we finish this 7 preliminary practice, right? So when you learn these things, then next week we'll start the stanza 8, which is the actual, now the practice will start there. So therefore, this week, when you're doing this refuge, morning refuge prayer, you can really think about these. And every morning when you take refuge, you can apply that. And that will really help you, when you take refuge. As a Buddhist practitioner, every day you may taking refuge morning, right? And that time, not just I go for refuge to Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, Buddha Sharanam Gacchami, or just simple prayer. It's not that much. It just say the word, right? But you sincerely think about this. The causes of refuge is concern about all this suffering. Then when you go, refuge has a lower, medium, highest refuge, Theravada tradition refuge, Mahayana refuge, all kind of things around there. All this distinguished by the fear you have, the concern you have, how much you concern. Little suffering, little refuge. Deeper suffering, deeper. Suffering, concern, entire sentient being suffering, concern, Mahayana refuge. Right? That's how, that also depends on how much you know, how much these are important. So it's very much based on your educations also. So anyway, these practice, at least something helps you to feel like, even I recite maybe 10-time mantra, right? Even I recite 10-time mantra is sake of change my karma, sake of change my mental affliction I have. I have anger, I have attachment, the sake of that. So you always, any little Buddhist practice you do is for sake of changing something, your negative thoughts, emotions, to apply to that. So when you're able to do that, then it's become refuge practice going right way. Therefore, any Buddhist, when we do practice, any practice we do, the first we take refuge. Right? First things, because of rest of any practice you do, it's for sake of changing here, changing your attachment, your greed, your behaves, right? So it helps to look from that, internalize, right? That kind of habit, you have to have that. So it's take a time. So every morning, reminding this again. Eventually, it's become naturally. Everything you're doing, you're always looking inside there. You always take that. That's called the meditation, right? Meditate means be familiarized of that habit, right? To familiarize. So then eventually, you become called spontaneously. You don't need to put effort. It's just naturally. Any little things you do, it's you always looking inside to change yourself, right? Then your practice becomes really powerful, really effective. Okay, so we're going to stop here. So now finally the conclusion, the merit we accumulate through learning in this important subject, we should dedicate to benefit to all sentient beings, world peace. Specific during these days, there are too much the wars everywhere, and millions of people may suffer. So what we can do right now, right? We just dedicate our merit for sake of overcome, all this war, and all being in this planet remain harmony, happy, peace, friendly each others. So that kind of dedications, at least we put little seeds there, something benefit. So then you can dedicate to yourself, to success, your practice. Practice become real practice, effective, successful, and finally to achieve enlightenment, Buddhahood, for sake of all beings. Okay, we're going to recite the mantra. Om mani padme hum. 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 And thus, Honorable Compassionate Gurus, we seek your blessings that all karmic traps, obstacles, and sufferings of mother beings may without exception ripen upon us right now, and that we may give our happiness and others, and thereby invest all beings in bliss. And thus, Honorable Compassionate Gurus, we seek your blessings that all karmic traps, obstacles, and sufferings of mother beings may without exception ripen upon us right now, and that we may give our happiness and virtues to others, and thereby invest all beings in bliss. Oye te ai nai ji ai zui, lai mai tu ji, ai mai ju do, ve ti ai do, ne ma lui da lai mi pa ta dai shin la tai wa yi troi kya yin de da de yin ba jin ki lo troi kya de da de yin ba jin ki lo chanjo semjo rinpoche ma ke pa nam ke juji ke pa nyam pa me pa yang kone kongto pever show. May the precious and sublime bodhicitta not yet born be born, and that which has been born not decline but increase forever. Okay, thank you.
How are you? I'm so worried about you.
Oh, yes.
How's your heart?
Pretty much better now.
Doing good?
Yes.
Oh, you know, I was in Nepal when you were there.
Oh.
When you were sick, I just got back from 5 months in India.
Oh, okay.
But the only way I knew was Jonathan told me you were here. So.